odds move closer, but with a deeper sweat. Beneath them we look on. When they part comes the hatred they bring. Lost in the dark, we've come so far. Another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day, 'cause only nightmares break their face. So stand upon these fallen lands and follow in our Father's plans. Yeah, until the end we will remain, and we'll hold on until our last breath. So what is to be left for us? My people look on and say, don't fear what you don't know, 'cause we're far from certain fate. And we'll make our final stand. Lost in the dark, we've come so far. Another step to rid the pain. Go and be counted till your last day, 'cause only nightmares break their flames. So stand upon these fallen lands
Hello, everybody in Valence League. Welcome to some more Division 1 playoffs. We are going to get super excited in here. I'm here to not to break down. Oh my God, I'm not breaking stuff down. I'm shouting about things for the first time ever. I'm going to be shouting about plays. I'm going to have Oak over here with me. He's going to be talking about plays, breaking it all down for you. How are you feeling about this one, buddy?
I'm just really excited to see the teams play tonight. You know, we're coming into losers bracket round 1. The first games that we get to see alongside with hopefully getting Area 69 and Garlic Bread Matthews games done tonight. But we got VIS, eSports and Violent Impulse coming in today. VIS eSports obviously dropping their set against Eclipse Solar in winners bracket. So they're now down in losers, trying to bring it back up again. And I'm just excited to see how VIS compared to Violent Impulse, because these are two teams that some of these players, especially from Violent Impulse, these are players that have been playing in the split or the league for maybe over a year now. Or as we go straight into draft. Won't be able to talk about that. Doesn't matter though. We're all good.
Don't worry, you'll have your 3 minutes. You'll get to talk about it after that. But for now, we get to focus on these bans. And I know you yourself were talking to me about the pregame, how this patch has changed up quite a bit of the top lane meta.
Yeah, Riot in their 200 collective years of experience have made some real big changes, especially to this top lane. So we're seeing some nerfs to items like Gore Drinker, Conqueror's Scene nerfs, as alongside with a few key buffs to champions like Teemo, which have been really, hopefully will really shake up draft coming into this. So ban dropped from blue side, so we're not going to see a first ban coming out from VIS, but a Carly ban from the other side, probably aim towards that mid lane.
And that is the main reason why they're not having their bans. Is one thing that we didn't quite get a chance to talk about beforehand, is that this VIS side isn't able to play with their AD carry from before, Zvei, or as he has renamed to 3055. So they are going to drop bans within this first game. They're not going to be able to use these first 3 bans. That's why we'll just see them reel off. But this means that there's a lot of flexibility and a lot more freedom on what you can pick in this game.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Red Side, right? When we're talking about the upsides and downsides. In fact, I was talking to this with some new people at my uni about how to draft properly. And one of the beauties of Red Side, especially, is if you're able to take control of this first draft and let those champions through and let through 3 key picks. Well, that gives you the opportunity. Let the first one go away and draft into your R1, your R2, you got these key picks that we're seeing right now. And I'm hoping we'll see some of these new champions hover. Teemo and Camille looking especially strong this patch, but we've seen the Graves in World so far. Look how strong that champion is, alongside with stuff like Vex, which I'm assuming is okay in Valence now.
It should be. We haven't had confirmation on that. Maybe production will be able to give us confirmation. They are enabled. Vex is available to play, so it's an option here for this VIS side if they want to pick it up.
And there we go,
straight to the classic. And
immediately, this champion is looking so strong at the moment. Really easy laning phase to play through. Has pressure points in all times of the game, and plays well with a load of different supports. We've seen Amumu being picked alongside it, but on top of that, Leona works really well with it. Utility supports work really well with it, so there's a lot of space to be drafting into here. And yeah, that bullet time, especially with some of the crushing other combos we've seen, like the Jarvan, so good. And Samira locked in as a counter, immediately picked away. And this champion is quite a highlight reel of a champ.
And not only that, Ratboy played a lot of games. Samira most played in solo queue on that. So really going towards that comfort in this game and trying to get themselves something that they're used to for this game 1.
Yeah, going to see what the second pick is. I love the cut. Yeah, this is great. When you're playing the Samira, you need something to pilot it through these champions. The depth charge obviously being such an easy tool to create initial picks or look for skirmishes. And this is going to really set up the Samira in the bot lane. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's pretty much the classic kill lane that you go through. You give yourselves a Nautilus, nice knock-up. Samira comes through, one-shots everyone. But this VIS side looks like they might be hitting back, looking at some engaged supports here. So we are going to see a bloodbath of a bot lane in this game.
And we mentioned the Leona briefly, but this champion also does fantastically into Samira. Those repeated small CC options really help to shut down the Samira when it's looking for that deadly flourish. So fantastic choice to be putting it into, and works really well the MF, and also leads really well into some of the really strong junglers we've seen at the moment. You can use this champion alongside these champions like the Graves, like the Jarvan, but they all lock in the Trundle instead. Okay, we're seeing some picks come out.
And I mean, it helps with that ability to lock someone down and do a lot of damage to single target. And Trundle definitely offers that. And to me, looking at it, it looks like they're going to want to play very aggressive both these bot lanes. So the counter jungle pick right now is going to be super important.
And Kiana locked in. This champion has popped up really recently in popularity, right? We're seeing a lot of pressure on these very assassin-focused junglers where Talon and Kiana have jumped in the meta. But if you're able to pilot these champions properly, they can be really easy tools to create leads in the early game, especially on that level 6 mark. And I'm just happy to see it. I haven't really actually seen a lot of this champion in the amateur league so far, especially in Red Gaming. It's been kind of underwhelming. We've seen the usual Java and the Lee Sin locked in. So Kiana's a highlight reel. At the same time, Yone's taken away. This champion is so scary in the right hand, so I'm not surprised to see it banned away alongside with the Silas.
Silas banned away, so some good ultimates that could be picked up with that MF ult, the Leona, the Trundle, all very versatile. Silas has a lot of options there, so they take that one away. Also is a very key pick. 4Key has played a lot of that Silas, really good on it in the mid lane, so well versed and practiced, so it makes sense that they take that one away. I wouldn't be surprised to see another ban onto one of Key's staple picks, something like the Rise, something that farms more and looks at scale, but is that a bit of disrespect?
I'm going to assume that was a mistake because there are still some champions I would be taking away by default, but nonetheless, a ban given away to Visitor.
They just don't need it. They were like, you know what? We go with 4 That's like how Mad Lions, you know, when they did that brand ban in the LEC, and then everyone asked, they were like, oh, this is so big brain. And in reality, it was like, oh, we just didn't have anything to ban, so we didn't. But Galio are going to be taken away as well. Another pick that facilitates that ability to roam around, make plays around the map. Key's not been a massive player that we've seen for roaming, but definitely having that Galio makes that roam a little bit easier.
Oh, and this is more of the champions that I want to see picked up right now. Syndra incredibly strong at the moment in the right hands once again. Seen a bit of play at Worlds and especially threatening towards this MF. You know, really no dashes, going to have to go into that mythic to get that dash. So yeah, Syndra, a good pick here. And I mean, we're looking, they need magic damage right now as well. So Lux, Lux.
It's getting spicy.
Lux into Syndra sounds really awful, but generally when we do end up seeing Lux like this, it's normally used as a pivot to play through comp. So with the Leona, it gives really easy access to these initial picks, can start off fights really well, especially when you look at the enemy comp. We've got 3 very squishy targets for the Lux to be playing through, and Lux did get a huge buff in this patch. Got buffs to her passive. It gets extended now on whenever she hits an ability. Her E got buffed, giving it a little bit of extra damage, alongside with her R getting that early RCD's been lowered. So maybe she's just really feeling it. On top of that, we see the Gwen, and then the Kennen picked in. So again, these champions we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of Gwen into stuff like the Kennen because of her W and the way she can use that to mitigate some of that lane pressure that Kennen does. But Kennen's incredibly scary threat when we're looking with the rest of his comp, because this is it seems like really easy flank options for Kennen to play through onto a very, very vulnerable 2 carry comp from VIS here. So I'm liking both drafts so far, to be honest.
And I think, just to rewind a little bit to give some sort of explanation on why this Lux pick, while it looks strange, makes sense. When you look at Shady or Marty as a player, you look at Solo Q, you look at the champions that this player plays, it's a lot of melees. Akali, Katarina, Yone, Diana, Echo, Yasuo. The only real 2 range champions that they have in their arsenal are Lux and Ahri, who I imagine isn't the best matchup into Syndra either. So when you look in that kind of context, makes a lot more sense why this pick came out.
And especially if we're looking at the patch right now, we're seeing literally day 2 right now, and Lux has jumped up dramatically in win rate, is looking incredibly potent in the players that are already playing her. And the fact that her win rate jumped so high alongside with her play rate actually skyrocketing, quadrupling up, maybe this is sleeper. Maybe we're missing out on something. I have to say, I do want to see how well they pilot it though, because this champion is so vulnerable when you're looking at VMP's comp. You know, look at the threats and look how easy, especially this depth charge, the Syndra stun, Kiana having such high agency on that ultimate. There's so many different ways for Shady and XCTC to get locked up. I'm very scared they're going to have to play this game really cleanly.
And when we look at these two comps, the first thing that I start to notice, especially when we look at that draft from this Violent Impulse side, is there's a lot of squishies on that. Their only real tank being that kind of Nautilus. So how do you think this affects these compositions when playing in tandem?
I mean, it's always the fight first thing, especially with the Leona Nautilus matchup. We're looking for these teams to make the picks first. I think big thing for Violent Impulse, right? Because they are playing, as you mentioned, these 4 squishies, very vulnerable. It means that Kennen needs to be finding flank points alongside with this initial engage that they're going to be looking for. And then in turn, we're talking, how squishy Violent Impulse is. We look at VIS, they have a lot more safety within this comp. That means that they get that opportunity to walk into potential fights, to play a little bit slower and set up, and that in turn gives them, I think, a lot more space to play these fights. Hopefully a little bit slower, look for the right fights to start, because in turn their fighting choices are a little bit more limited. Leona, Trundle, that's about it for fight starting. So hopefully they can be on objectives first. I think we're going to be hopefully watching their timers, seeing when they reset, make sure they're on this strike first. They've got blue side advantage. So
you talking about fighting first, being on objectives first, that leads me into a point that I know you love talking about, and that is vision control.
Oh, it's a real soft spot for me. Yeah. To be honest, both teams are going to be looking for the same vision spots in this early game. It's just going to be seeing who's consistent with it. Because Smiley and Lamps, both of these champions have really easy reset timers, especially in the lanes that we're looking at right now. MF, Samira, I don't think either has real solo pressure on each other. So it gives really easy timers for Smiley and Lamps to just move out of lane and set up some initial vision. So I think the big thing is we're going to be looking at Smite Kingdom and Sundra. We want to look at where they're starting, and in turn we can look at where Lamps and support want to move on the map, and then in turn we can look at where they want to be setting up vision, because I would be assuming that Kiana wants to stay on the other side of this Trundle matchup in the early game.
It seems like a matchup that will be quite rough for you. Your first Trundle says tanks it all, and then just...
Especially with the PTA that we're seeing. On top of that, we're seeing Ignite and Gwen. I love seeing this. I think this is kind of a staple at this point, alongside with that Ignite on the Camille. But people are really starting to feel that Ignite on the Gwen, and it gives so much pressure on that level 6 point, because Gwen has perpetual rundown with the needlework. So Spiegel gonna have to play really careful in this matchup with 6.
And obviously, as we're about to load into this game, we're gonna have to do the classic pause at 10 seconds to sync up again. I know, Oak, you're a very often forgetter of that, and
hey, I got really good at it. It was like my first 3 casts. After that, mastered it, mate. Completed it.
Yeah, just started beasting it, but sorry. You know what? I do just want to talk about, as we're going to head into this pause. You know what? The one thing I hate about casting a VL is.
Go for it.
I'll tell you after we sync up.
Okay, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So the one thing I hate about VL is that we don't use webcams. Because if anyone doesn't know, boys and girls, this man Oak right here, he's the sexiest man alive.
Oh my god.
I love looking at his face, and it always makes me so happy. And you know what?
If I had a camera on, I would be blushing.
You'll be blushing. I mean, you should be.
Oh, level 1 shenanigans.
Spicy.
And this is the pressure of the Nautilus, right? We know how fat that dredge line is. He's going to walk in and set up this. Hopefully, there's no response from VIS either. This is the Quee kick back and forth. They ping it now. But
But look at the spot out from Kennen. That's super smart. They invade with the 4-man instead of the 5-man, so they can't even get a counter ward in.
But they should have, if they were quicker. As soon as they see that, move in as a 3-man unit, get that ward on the red side. In turn, this is going to really help Sundra in finding that initial pathing. And on top of that, Kiana has, you're seeing this is a perfect start. So because Sundra is going to hopefully see that Trundle's going to be starting on this top side, because they see the bot lane walking through. In turn, this gives Sundra the option to go, okay, I'm going red, wolves, blue, grump, then walk straight to top side and contest that scuttle. So whilst this does open up some mind games to Smite Kingdom, I'm hoping to see Sundra at the early game for free, essentially.
Sundra definitely gets to opt into that pathing the way they want. Seems that it's going to be that top lane start for both junglers, so they are going to match in that bottom side, and I think it makes definitely a more interesting of an early game, knowing that these bot lanes definitely want to duke it out in the early levels.
Absolutely. I'm having a little bit of a spectator bug where I can't see auto attacks at the moment. I'm hoping this is just me.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's scary. I can't see any animations actually, so that's fun. Anyway, yeah, gonna see usual starts now. I think first big thing is seeing who's looking for this level 2 power spike, and we're seeing Smiley and XCTC get the initial shove in. If they can keep this pressure up, I'll be seeing some fighting.
Yeah, maybe some fighting. I mean, you won't be seeing some fighting because no animations for you, but the rest of us are going to enjoy a little bit of a fight as in the bot lane. An engage comes through, stun comes up, damage there, but it's level 1, but it's so much first blood over to that bot lane.
I really did look very funky on my screen, but what a fantastic... We talked about level 2, immediately we see it, and even with the cleanse start, which by the way, I think is really questionable on this MF, we see the flash forward to pick up that kill. Ratboy's down on that flash on top of... I mean, this is... We look at Trundle's pathing. This is going to be a really scary point for Ratboy to be in as well, because this wave's going to shut back in the next 30 seconds.
And this is the VL action I kind of love, you know, level 1, level 2, let's just scrap all into the death, see what happens. Is in the top lane now, more fights going on constantly, trying to trade those health pools out. And I mean, you know, normally in League of Legends, health pools are a resource, but in VL, it's just another means to an end, and that end is getting more fights.
Whilst we're talking about the fighting top lane even, I want to just quickly note that the Doran start on this Gwen means that whilst we're seeing her get a little bit HP chunked, look at her mana pool right now. She's already half depleted, and this wave's in no state for her to shove. She doesn't have shove fire into Kennen, so Spike set him up in a really strong point for this early game.
So let me just ask you about something. Doran's blade on the Gwen, is that a usual thing?
It's a mistake in this matchup. People used to do it when Gwen's E was that much stronger in the early game. You could find some really easy level 1. Oh, big flash!
Big flash coming through, bigger hook, stun into that. Damage comes through, and it is going to be a return kill onto that mid lane. They are hitting back.
Yeah, I mean, Director Cam really cursed us both there as we get cut into that. But fantastic response from Lamps there, really quick on that flash to find that kill. And Ratboy really doesn't have Ratboy gets to farm out the lane for free as Smite's just wasting his time top lane. But 2 kills for 2 kills so far. So also we saw a little bit of pressure there onto Ratboy. In return, they pick up Shady in the mid lane. And so we're seeing different avenues for these teams to play their goal through now.
We see a Kiana ganking in the bot lane. If this hook hits, could be huge. Root comes through, the cleanse is used, but the damage is there. Exhaust will just save the day as that Leona is so tanky. Stun comes out. Damage return not going to be followed, and they managed to survive themselves a little bit of a gank.
And I question the cleanse, but perfect use of it there. Kind of stops my point a little bit. Fantastic cleanse there. Manages to sneak out with a little bit of a sliver. And Leona, the champion is so tanky. Just walks away for free. Doesn't really care. And now they've seen Kiana on the bot side, and so late at this point, they should know where her general pathing's going to be. And we're seeing some pings already from Smite Kingdom to maybe aggress up, because he has no camps up at the moment, but he's just pinging for this dragon.
Running straight there, but Sundra does not want to give that one away. Has just got a small lead in the bot lane, and what they're going to end up doing is sprinting every member straight to that dragon, try to make sure it can't be taken. And this is the VL rotations we all know and love.
Absolutely. Gonna see how Lamp sets up this initial vision on the Drake as well, because they do have the timers at the moment. XCTC are in base, and it looks like they've identified it because they're pinging it away. Hopefully they look for this first. Obviously, Cloud Drake, notoriously difficult to take early game, does so much damage. The Spike's gonna a little bit of a cheeky reset stop there.
A little bit of a cheeky reset as both TPs are available for both top laners, and lane wave seems to be in a neutral state, but obviously as the bot lane just reset for this VIS team, they can't go for that. But Syndra maybe looking for a pick. A stun comes through. Damage is kind of there, but really the ultimate gets the kill in the end.
It's literally left on under 10 HP there. Key calculating it down to a team, but just a little bit of regen from Smite Kingdom there saves this day. Yeah, honestly, I was about to say how well played that is from Key. What a fantastic punish, but doesn't find the kill. But still, they're 2 kills up right now. We're seeing already a 1k lead and that first Drake. And if we look at how strong their team comp is in this mid game, the Syndra and the Samira being really big focus points for them. You know, we talked about how squishy their comp is, but in turn that really benefits them in this mid game, especially when they're looking for this first 2 Drakes. Once the onus is on Smite Kingdom and the rest of his team to start looking to contest the Drakes, especially with this gold lead. That means that the Bulls in Violent Impulse is caught to make these aggressive turnaround fights, and that plays really well into this big lead as Sundra's funding a fight.
Double root flash forward, the stun's not there, the Syndra misses the QE, but it will come through eventually. Damage is there, Key is on a killing spree, and it only looks like it'll be more damage, but the return kill to Bobo Bobbin on that Gwen. Balanced champion Riot, give that one another nerf.
Oh, big engagement in the bot lane.
Another stun comes through. Hook is landed in return, and the damage is huge from this Samira. Are they going to be able to get the MF? No, yes, they are. Level 6 mark hit now. Infernal trigger used. Damage is there, but the flash is enough from Smiley to get themselves out from this one.
Yeah, rotational kills here coming from both sides of both teams. We see a kill picked up there for Bobo Bobbin at the same time. Or, nope. Doesn't have that unleashed power available yet, so I'll be finding a kill in the mid lane just now. But yeah, rotational kills for both sides. But if anything, this benefits the Samira. Was already in a bad spot before. Picking up that initial kill means going to be a little bit closer in the gold. And I think, honestly, that plays into the... We saw the Dorans from the Samira there in terms of that sword as... Oh, I'm really scared of this Syndra.
Yeah,
she's got the unleashed power available, so I had to kind of hold my breath there for a little minute.
Has a lot of damage and possibly going to go for this one, but the Hex Flash from Smiley will get the stun. The damage from Lux is big, but just not enough. Lamps now had to tank that turret to save their mid laner, but it will be the death. No! A flash out will just save this Nautilus, and they tried as they might, but they weren't able to kill Smiley, Key, and Lamps.
But, I mean, look at the damage from Shady there. Already seeing the buffs to Lux's E there. Ridiculous damage coming out as Bobo's going to get chunked out a little bit in this kind of matchup. Not faring too well at the moment, but has got a little bit of a CS lead.
Sundra flashes forward though, gets the damage, gets the kill, and Flash used for nothing. A Spike Spiegel looking to go to Bobo Bobbin now, uses the ultimate, the stun is there, the damage is there, and Bobo Bobbin, you're looking a bit caught out there, buddy.
Yeah, it doesn't have that W available, and that Slicing Maelstrom locks him up, does so much damage. At the same time, picking bot lane.
Nothing we should expect to happen here. Flash has to be used because of the bullet time, and Ratboy, you picked that Samira to counter that Leona Zenith Blade, but so far we're not seeing good usage of that spell.
Yeah, Ratboy's looking real low now as well. I'd be surprised if he doesn't have to give this wave up. Maybe they're not in position for this dive anymore, but they do have that Solar Flare available. So maybe look for the chunk out. I just want to see how they play for this wave here, because just choking out this Samira, look at the CS lead from XCTC already. Choking Samira out of at least some of this wave is going to play dividends. It's so scary to talk whilst these death lines are available.
You're just ready. As soon as you see an ability fly, you're like, oh, that's the death. But Lamp's only level 5 as Smiley looking to move forward onto Ratboy, and Smite Kingdom has moved down here as well. So this could be super dangerous for this Violent Impulse bot lane.
Yeah, but Sundra might already be aware of it. Straight past this blue buff. They know the play is going to happen already. So we're going to see the response here.
The response is coming through. The damage might be there. Oh, the double stun onto both. Smiley then turns onto this Kiana. Sundra knocks them all back. Infernal trigger is huge. CTC just about survives. Here comes Shady. Shut down onto the Kiana. Lamps, you have no flash. You have no life. And that is a double kill over to Smite Kingdom. And VIS securely in this game.
And Key has the TP available, but fails to use it. Shady's already got the movement down, sacks the mid turret in return for 2 kills picked up for his team. And on top of that, XP and waves lost for Ratboy. Fantastic play from VIS eSports.
Key trying to get something back, not able to find anything there, but it's an even bigger issue because Key not only was able to push in the one wave, yes, but they weren't able to find turret platings after, and I feel like if this Lux commits to such a big roam to the bot lane, you need to find something in that matchup.
Yeah, and that's just partially due to Syndra. You know, the Sundra isn't there to play through potentially for these plates. And, you know, Syndra's turret damage is going to be very low as they look for the Herald now. But I was going to mention Herald hasn't been picked up yet. And this would be a natural response from one team to another when you're looking at those different map plays. And that was just because of miscoms. You know, if Sundra is down on the bot side, they know that the play's happening already. Where is Spike and Key to play through with that with the rest of their team? So just miscommunications means they can't pick up anything in return.
And Key having to be careful in that mid lane, just clearing waves, just relaxing a little bit there, knowing that the roams were coming through. And meanwhile in the bot lane, Ratboy and Lamps still not able to hit that level 6 mark, is behind in XP, and it's going to really make them suffer if they opt to fight for this dragon.
Yeah, whilst Violet and Impulse were looking really good in the first set of the game, looks like, oh, big pick.
But big hook comes through, damage as well. Ratboy does a lot, and XCTC has to waste their flash for nothing.
Absolutely. I actually can't see any items either. Seems like my client's bugging just a little bit. So that's a bit of an issue, but we're going to plow through nonetheless.
Get on Discord. I'll stream this one for you, buddy. Don't worry about it.
That's very
Let's
kind.
get you in here.
That's so sweet.
That's so sweet. But you talk about sweet, but Bobo Bobbin is anything but that, as the Gwen damage was so huge onto Sundra. And the Rift Herald is going to be used. It's going to be getting them a bit of gold back. But meanwhile, in the mid lane, Key! What was that?
And this is what we're talking about. This Key is this big playthrough point for them. Key player 1-2 splits ago, and look at him showing the prowess in Syndra right now. Whilst he wasn't able to find that TP in the bot lane, showing the prowess now. Absolutely fantastic pick, and this sets up Lamps and Ratboy to potentially look for place in the spot turret as well.
Just gonna be happy getting that pin cord, getting themselves a little bit of vision control means it's always scary where that Syndra will go. Now we do see from this blue side team good vision control in that river, so it negates a lot of what Key can do outside of his own lane.
Yeah, this vision it seems a little bit split, but we're seeing overall, I think VIS is definitely showing a better vision control of the map so far. We're seeing key areas of the map, limiting Sundra's pathing towards any potential ganks. Another thing I want to note real briefly is that Sundra has opted to go into the Gore Drinker. It did just get nerfed this patch, and we've seen, obviously, people have been doing this build a lot with Kiana so far. But with that nerf coming in, alongside with the nerf to Conqueror, this build is definitely very, just a little bit weaker. I want to see how this gets handled and how weak it looks, because I really have no grasp of how much better or worse this item is now.
I just love seeing nuclear Kiana, where you just build like the Eclipse or the Dustblade, and your whole job is, I'm going to one-shot someone, and yeah, I'm probably going to die afterwards, but that person's definitely going with me. It's always
especially
good
the
fun to
Eclipse
see.
builders really just, I'm diving, I die, I don't care, I'm going to kill 2 or 3 people on my way out.
Talking about killing people, Spike Spiegel might find themselves in a 1v2 there, but is going to settle on that wave. And here's the question, that age-old question: which side are you a fan of? Is it a freezable, or are you not freezing?
I think in this spot you're definitely freezing. I mean, we already know that the play isn't going to be topside. Big pick.
Big pick not going to come through, though, as Gale Force's use damage is there. Bullet time finishes it off, but double TP's now. Triple TP is going to come through. One from both sides. Spike Spiegel flashes forward. Exhaust uses huge. Stun is there. Bobo Bobbin's here now, and Spike Spiegel can't get themselves out. Damage is there. Key is the one person to play through. Lamps is there as the support, but Bobo Bobbin is Bobo strong at the moment. You get it? It's a play on So-So, but
It's good.
It didn't work very well.
And that's something I wanted to talk about. Whilst
my pun's not working well?
No, it's Bobo Bobbin. You're not important here. Bobo Bobbin, whilst he did end up losing that turret in the early game, 20 CS up on this Kennen right now. And with that kill onto Ratboy then, 3 kills up now as well. Got a bounty on his head, looking really strong coming into mid game. And these are the champions they want to have gold coming into this mid game. Look with our frontliners, that is some big damage coming out from Key.
And it seems like what they've opted to do is they put their strongest solo lane member against the Gwen to sort of negate an advantage that Gwen can get in a 1v1. And it seems like it can be working, but Key has to be careful, because when that needlework comes back up, we've seen the amount of damage that Gwen can do.
I think, honestly, we want to see if Violent Impulse can hold on to as much standing gold as possible. Keep these towers up. Big solar flare.
Big solar flare into a big Zenith Blade, and Ratboy going to be caught out here with nothing to do in that mid lane.
And they're making my points for me. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about. They have such easy access to so many different players from Violent Impulse. So keeping these turrets up gives them a lot more safety in farming these lanes. Obviously, Ratboy doesn't get to play into that too much, and we see the prowess of this Leona there. I think the solar flare was very, very well placed there.
Dragon about to be up in 40 seconds. It is only the second dragon for both teams, but it is the Ocean Dragon, which is a very vital one to start stacking them up early. It gives you that extra regeneration, that extra ability to fight, that one auto attack longer, which can be the difference between life and death in these fights. But Sundara might be a little caught out as Smite Kingdom walks forward, pillar used, but nothing interesting going to happen there. But posturing in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think we're hopefully going to see a trade here as we see this big siege up in the mid lane. But the thing is, Bobbin and the rest of his team, they got really limited walk-in. Hopefully Shady's going to be able to get this wave though. And in return, I think getting on this strike, rotating and choosing to go for this trade isn't the end of the world. Instead, you can see here they're not really making either play. And as Bobbin looks for the flank,
is on the flank, is going to be onto Key. Needlework used. We talk about the damage, but look at Solar Flare, huge. Sundara gets a double stun, but the turnaround is here with the cannon coming through the stun. The Infernal trigger used by Ratboy, but the damage just isn't enough as Sundara and Spike Spiegel are going to be the two left alive. They're going to go down, and that is going to be an ace at 17 minutes for this VIS squad.
And shout out to Smiley there. What a fantastic Solar Flare there to pick off Key in the middle ground. That gets combined with the final spark from the Lux there. Absolutely decimated Key before the fight even starts. You can see the ultimate, the deadly power unleashed is still available. So Key didn't really get to play out the fight. And we saw, even though a fantastic turnaround from Spike and Ratboy, Ratboy's 1 and 5. He just hit his mythic now. The damage isn't there yet. So even though they find a really good turnaround, it's just not enough damage. And yeah, 5 for 3, unlock the second dragon for VIS eSports. They're looking really hot coming into mid game.
Smiley has been super on point with these exhausts. Every time Spike Spiegel looks for a big engage, looks for that slicing maelstrom onto multiple members, instantly Smiley pops that exhaust. The damage is pretty much cut in half, and all of a sudden your wombo combo that you're expecting to come through loses a lot of its damage.
And on top of that, not just these fantastic solar flares, look at the vision control he's maintained throughout this game. We talked about it earlier, but it's the same still now. That Drake was up, look at the pinks, look at where the vision's currently set up. That's all through Smiley. And I think he's doing a fantastic job so far of limiting Violent Impulse's vision as much as possible, and hopefully mandating where his team are going to be placing these pinks to maintain control of the map and be sure that they know exactly where they're making these first picks.
And we spoke about vision before. We said it was going to be a key factor. Both of these teams really need to get on objectives first and find that vision. But in that last fight, we saw a little bit of the opposite happen. It seemed river control was over to the side of this Violent Impulse squad, but they did lose that fight. So talk through that a little bit for us.
I mean, that's ultimately through Bobo and the rest of his team. I'm assuming fantastic communication on who their target is. We see Bobo on that flank point up in this top side of the map, and in return he starts to fight onto Key, slows him with that needlework, and then in turn that enables the solar flare into Shady's positioning, because we saw Shady way far back, making sure that mid turret doesn't fall. Just a fantastic combination from the team. I really think speaks to their communication in that fight, because that was key to making that initial pick.
And speaking of Key seems to be quite out in the bot lane, but no, it's the counter players. Bobbin might be the one that's a little bit baited out. Sundara gets that stun off. Key might be able to follow up the CC, but you have to be in Gwen's zone to be able to damage. Oh my! It's the first one, has the Omnivamp. It's not going to be enough. Sundara gets the shot down, but that Gwen is looking mighty horrific.
And they send 3 players down to this bot lane. This should hopefully open this top. Yep, Herald gets used, placed down here. This is going to unlock mid turret, and we know how important mid turret is. Maybe a flank coming in, but Shady's in the back line.
Smite Kingdom's ready, zoning away, XTC, CTC, bullet time comes through, Lamps cancels that one, but Spike Spiegel's so low, it's out of the fight, this final spark hits too, Ratboy has that Infernal trigger, doesn't even get to use it as a double kill comes through for Smite Kingdom, and they're pinging on the Baron.
And once again, we're seeing these ultimates using tangent every single time. Smiley's trying to feint the Sundara here.
Oh, Smiley being a bit greedy, flashes forward, the CC's there, but Sundara is a bit tankier than you expect with that Gore Drinker, but no! Smiley just playing on the H time and time and time again.
And the big thing there, even if he does die, they still get this Baron, so he tries to go for the kill trade, baits Sundara into it, but it doesn't even matter, it lives anyway. Key's here for the potential steal though, so we're going to look for it now.
Well, it doesn't even matter. Bobbin just going to zone out. Key can't do anything in this situation as that Baron for sure going to go down to this VIS side. And right now they have got themselves a mighty fine lead going into this mid game.
And we talked about how hard it was for Violent Impulse to fight with this incredibly squishy comp, and I think VIS eSports are handling it fantastically. As soon as they hit this mid game, we saw bigger groupings start happening, and Leona Smiley has been doing such a fantastic job of enabling the rest of his team to make picks onto basically anybody they want. But mostly we've been seeing first picks onto Key to really shut down the gold point for Violent Impulse.
And I just want to point out how good Smiley has been in this game. It's that solar flare has pretty much been a point and click. Every time that ability comes out, you expect it to hit, which is quite the opposite of my players. Right now, we see Smiley going for another kill onto Lamps. Should just be an easy catch out, but Key and Ratboy are here to try and defend it, and the play's just going to end up fizzling into nothing.
The biggest issue right now is we're seeing how strong Smiley and Smite Kingdom are.
But talk about strong. Key does so much damage there as Smiley's going to go down as well. But no, the CC is huge. Maybe they survive, but they just get out, as that's going to be 2 quick picks, 25 seconds until Dragon, and this Violent Impulse side has control.
2 fantastic picks there. Hopefully unlocks this mid turret. I was going to hopefully talk about how important these mid turrets are. We'll get to talk about it soon. And we even saw there with that final spark, look how much damage Shady's doing in these fights as he's looking for the solo kill.
Talk about damage. Bobo Bobbin does a lot, but Spike Seagull has a lot of CC, is able to survive. The CC chain is huge, but final spark, doesn't just hit, and the action never stops here as Shady having to run away, and this Dragon surely is going to be going over to this Violent Impulse side.
Yeah, they get the kill onto the ground. That's going to limit a lot of VIS eSports walk-in potential. We already talked about how limited they are in terms of that. So long as Violent Impulse go for this straight quickly and make sure that they keep Ratboy in a safe position, this should be their Dragon to take.
Oh, but they've spent so long taking it. Bullet time is up. Smite Kingdom might look for it. Bullet time use final spark. The damage not enough to steal that one away. Nice composure, nice smite from Sunderer, and we have to see what they can get from this. Baron is still up for another 40 seconds, but it doesn't seem like they've got much from it so far.
Yeah, unfortunately, those 2 picks onto XCTC and Smiley really limited how much they were able to play through this Baron. And in turn, I think Violent Impulse did a fantastic job of limiting that Baron by extending their side lanes as much as possible and focusing on these objectives outside of these turrets, where these minions can't come into play.
So we've seen at the moment, this game's been very much based around picks. Who can get that vision control? Who can have more members at the fight first? And do you think this is the way that the game is supposed to be played out, or is there a different way that either of these teams could approach this to get that advantage? I was going to
say that VIS eSports, actually their most success has been in these big open areas where they've been able to play through all of their champions freely. We know that Lux is a strong choke champion, but in fact, the best success they found was around that mid turret when they first unlocked that mid turret, and in this big open area around Dragon. So hopefully they can identify that's where their best points are, when they can play as this core 5 unit, do the walk-in with Smiley, use their many easy ways of picking up an individual target, because we talked about it already. Violent Impulse, a lot of squishy players, and that's really their point to continue to pressure the lead on. Alternatively, I think Violent Impulse, especially with the Supreme Display of Talent, a lot of these tools that their team has, very easy to play through chokes, right? Especially the depth charge and the Supreme Display of Talent. They're looking for these picks, and I think they want to split up VIS eSports as much as possible. The only issue with that is Bobo Bobbin is so strong at the moment. 5 and 4, but that kill death deficit doesn't really show the full side of things, because Spike is really struggling in this matchup at the moment, and it's mean that repeatedly we've seen we've seen Sundra and Lamps rotate alongside just to stop Bobo Bobbin from solo killing Spike.
And we see that Bobo Bobbin is so kind of tanky with this build that you go on Gwen, the Omnivamp, that all the burst that we see from this Violent Impulse side can't one-shot him, and you find yourself in a situation where Key has to enter that mist to be able to do damage, and as soon as you're in that mist, it opens up Bobo Bobbin to turn on you and just absolutely obliterate you.
I think another reason for that as well is this Gold Drinker change. We're seeing how Sundra's build, we're seeing actually the damage from it pretty minimal, right? And I'm going to attribute this to this Gold Drinker build. The item got kind of half reworked into being definitely more of this sustaining item rather than being a burst item that also has this sustaining active attached to it. And I think it's really limiting Sundra's damage here because obviously, or maybe a pick into Bobob and no?
Trying to pick onto them, but that Hallowed Mist is just so strong again.
Yep.
You can't hit anything onto that champion.
And so I'm just going to try and hold this mid turret, but I mean, once again, when I talk about vision briefly, we're seeing how Smiley and the rest of his team are setting up the vision focused around this top side because Baron's the next objective up. They want to play through this Baron if possible.
Spike seems to know what they want to do. They were looking for a flank there, but without members in positions, didn't want to go for it. As Bobo Bobbin is going to jump this wall and look for Key. Key, you're in the shop. Get out, buddy. You're going to have to run away from this one. Flash is used. Bobo Bobbin doesn't want to follow from that point, so needle work for Flash. I think you take that trade any day of the week.
Absolutely. The flash is so important for the Syndra, and also not having that TP available now means that we're getting really limited as to who we can put into the lane of Bobo Bobbin.
That burst is huge, but Sundra just about survives. Zenith! Oh, the solar flare into the bullet time. Smiley, take a bow. You are smurfing this game as Smite Kingdom is trying to get forward onto Rat Boy. The damage just not quite there, but it has given them all the pressure they need with that one pick.
I'm surprised they should just be heading straight for this Baron here. They had the damage for it right now, especially with Sundra being gone away. That steal is really minimal, so the only way for Violent Impulse to contest this right now is looking for that counter engage, and they had their tools available. Slicing Maelstrom, this depth charge, such key tools to find a counter engage, so it's all up to them now to find it.
3 versus 4 on this one. TP available on Bobo Bobbin. Flash forward from Spike. Doesn't quite do the damage. Gonna have to kite back now. Key's there. Does do a lot. Depth charge used, but they can't follow up from that as Key has to use the Unleashed Power to kill off the Trundle. But the fight is a horror as Bobo Bobbin is here now and he is angry. Gonna clean up the first one. Second one are gonna be given over to XCTC, and this Baron gonna be started all over again.
Yeah, they trade 1 kill for 2, but the big thing is now Smite Kingdom's down. And look how low Smiley is. And there we go. They trade the 1 kill for the 2, and then in turn they get to shut down this Baron. Ultimately, not a bad play from Violent Impulse, and gives them a little bit more breathing space when we consider the next 3 minutes of the game and how scary that could have been with this Baron up.
Dragon going to be taken instead. It looks like that's where they're pivoting, but the issue is they're not using their tempo right now. So if there is a catch to come out from this Violent Impulse side, you could see this game quickly snowball in the other favor, but they just want to get that vision control onto that Baron. No, it's only that third dragon. It's that soul point. So they're not too worried about this one just yet.
Unfortunately, though, like these slow rotations for Violent Impulse, this is the key time to be trading your objectives. This is a key. This should be something as default done by these higher tier teams. You want to be trading this dragon for this mid turret. Opens up so much of the map. In turn, they don't do so. And they're so limited in where they can place their vision and how aggressively they can place each of their players because these turrets are still up.
And the issue is you spent all that time, all that tempo getting Baron vision for it to be instantly taken away by the stronger members on the other side.
And I definitely think we're seeing a little bit of skill difference in terms of these actual macro choices from each team here. I think VIS eSports so far have been really on the ball with not only repeatedly clearing out Violent Impulse's vision, which we're not seeing from Lamp so far, but on top of that, just general communication that we haven't seen from Key and the rest of his team. When Key wants to be playing, you know, when you're piloting all your goal through one individual champion and you have so many different tools at your disposal to play through. We talked about it already. Depth charge, the slicing maelstrom, the supreme display of talent. All of these are really easy tools to CC up an initial target, and they haven't been able to find it. In turn, Shady and Smiley, I mean, shout out to these two players, have repeatedly done this Solar Flare Final Spark combination to absolutely decimate anybody they catch on the side of Violent Impulse.
And I just want to point out now, I'm not often a player that likes to look at stats because they can obviously be misleading, but when we look across the kill participation, it tells a story, and that story for us is one team's playing as a 5-man unit. We see really high KPs in jungle, mid, AD carry, and support, whereas on the flip side, even though they've still got 16 kills themselves, such low kill participation from the players on the enemy team.
Look at the side lanes when they're setting up for this Baron here. They have Gwen in the state where it's got that slow push coming into the bot side. And so they can start the Baron, bait this Kennen in as this wave's going to start to hopefully crash in this bot side so long as Bobo Bobbin set it up correctly and I look smart.
You'll be a smart if you do, but it does look like you might be right, as that's a big wave in that bot lane, pushing wave in that top lane, and they have that mid prio, which gives them that free entry onto Baron, but they don't want to give this easily on the other side.
Bob of them plays for the pick, but really vulnerable at the moment.
Is vulnerable, but is also tanky, and they found this zone. The Smiley flashes forward, misses the Solar Flare, the first one. Final Spark does so much. Sundara, bullet time is through everyone. It does so much damage. Key gets one, but there's two back traded. Will they make it three? Yes, they will. They make it four as well, and they might not just be going for this Baron, but they might be going for the mid turret as well.
And I talked about them being in open spaces, but now tight corridor. The Final Spark and the bullet time hits absolutely everybody. Fantastically played, even though that final, I'll say, Solar Flare did flood. Smiley, doesn't matter, he's in the position to be that front line for his team to find the rest of the damage, and we can see how destructive that was. And Spike wasn't able to find the slicing maelstrom as he uses it here to try and find a solo kill.
Lasagna is used. It's going to be tense as they come out, but the damage through the ace is there, and it's almost like you know what you're talking about, because that bot wave did crash, and it seems to be pushing back to the side of VIS now.
Very good. Anyway, going to see, hopefully, just a quick reset from Bobo so they can have those synergistic resets, be on the map at the same time as... yeah, I mean, I think now we're looking at how Violet and Impulse can come back into this game. And I think defending these inhibs, first of all, keeping this standing gold up, keeping these turrets up is going to be the key. Pressure as Lamps is all chatted at the moment, trying to perhaps bring up a... That's quite funny.
Gotta bring out a little bit of the flame in these games. Gotta keep them on their toes. It's not only, remember what Sun Tzu said, you got that mental warfare as well as the physical warfare. So Lamps definitely a studier of the ancient arts. We have 1 minute until this dragon now, and it looks like Vim is definitely going to look to contest this one.
Yeah, I'd hopefully they'd be looking for this middle inhibitor as well, especially when we're looking at how limited Violent Impulse's wave clear is into this Baron, because Spike and Key are the key wave clear champions for this team, and both of them get really limited by this Baron buff.
Baron buff is going to be used to push out that mid wave. Top wave already pushing in, and they've got contested, but Spike Spiegel moves forward with that Proto Belt. The stun is there, but the damage follow-up is not, and that is such a huge ability to use before the fight. But Sundara might be able to find a pick onto Shady themselves. That damage is so much, but it's just not enough. Final Spark used. Bobo Bobbin looking for this. Key finishes it off. They're going to find CTC as Smiley trying to stall out as long as they can. It's can they fight through Bobo Bobbin? This game is so strong. The damage is so much. Needlework kills two. Is gonna look for more, but it's a triple key onto Key, and 2 for 3 at the moment as Smite Kingdom tries to chase down Key, but there's not gonna find anything there.
And Bobo's getting that quick reset in, potentially looking for this TP to secure this Drake, as we do see it come in now. And yeah, even with Shady and XCTC being taken out of these fights early, these bruisers are so hard to break through, even with the Void Staff and the Seralda's Grudge being picked up, as Sundra's looking for the steal, doesn't find it.
Doesn't find the steal. Ocean is there, but he is going to be in that stealth. He's going to use the Gore Drinker to survive a little bit longer, but Bobo Bobbin is huge, and Bobo Bobbin wants blood as they are able to get the first one. Spike Kingdom now uses that pillar teleport coming through from Shady. Shady's definitely going to find Key here as Spike Spiegel. Needlework used. Damage is there. It's absolutely huge. Key's trying to kite this one out. Such a brave effort from this player. Almost 1v9 in this game as he gets a kill onto one, but it won't be enough as mid lane inhibitor for sure going to go down. But Bobo Bobbin, he wants more. I don't get to stop speaking as he kills onto Lamps. Going for Rat Boy as well, as this might be the game, Oak.
That's such the damage. I'm sorry, I'm almost speechless. The damage from Bobo Bobbin is absolutely massive, but yeah, it looks like it's going to be game here. What a fantastic showing for game one from this series so far. VIS eSports definitely going out of the way to say, okay, we got knocked down in winners bracket, we're back in here in losers. They find this fantastic draft, play through it so well. Smiley plays so fantastically. What a fantastic game overall from VIS eSports for game one.
I'm starting to feel like maybe you think that was fantastic.
Yeah, I said that so many times. Jesus.
Yes, fantastically fantastic in that game from all these fantastic players. But I think the one person to highlight, definitely, there's two players. One is Smiling, but the other is Bobo Bobbin. That Gwen was an absolute machine.
And a dark horse in the early game as well, because whilst that Tara's getting down now, was slowly building that CS lead. And, didn't actually got solo kill by Spike in the early game. But this Gwen, once it gets on a couple of items, looks so predatory, and especially with that Rabadon's pickup, was absolutely chunking out every player. Now, Hallowed Mist makes it so tanky. The champion looks incredibly dominant as well. Bowen looks fantastic on this. So we're going to see what kind of draft adaptations are these teams looking towards now. Do we think that VIS have any bans they want to be taken away? Do they want to unlock this Syndra, especially now that they actually have bans available? And on top of that, Violent Impulse, they've got a lot of decisions to make coming into Game 2.
Decisions to make from both sides here is, does Violent Impulse want to change anything up? Do they think it was just a player difference? And VIS, are they going to keep the same thing? The only way to find out that is you make sure that you're back here after a short little break. We'll see you again.
Fellow armsmen, I ask you, will you follow me tonight to break their spine and reclaim what once was mine? Those cravens backstabbed me, deceived me. Never shall I tolerate their crimes again. Now let the hunt begin. Oh, 7,000 souls scared and daunted, such a tale of woe. Not too long ago, this village was a golden scene of hope. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer. Fellow warriors, I ask you, should my campaign come to an end, there's way I am the light bringer. To come down the endless fire, to bring forth the ages, to be left with no pain. You'll see a vision die and give your body to the fire. It's true that you were born to die. So now we set your spirit free. Let the light blaze clear away. For we have come to save you from your pain. So let your voices scream. Powerless lifelines free from time. 'Cause we exist to survive the changing tide.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here once again with Game 2 of Violent Impulse versus VIS eSports. Game 1, we saw a little bit of a banger. You know, it was quite close, and then one team definitely took a hold of the reins a lot more than the other team did.
Absolutely. And I think the big reasons why we saw that was probably ease of use in terms of draft and a couple of adaptations that I want to go over when we get into draft 2. Big thing to be noting before we go into draft is VIS are now on red side. So Violent Impulse have taken away blue side from them. And this gives a little bit more priority when you're looking at key junglers. We're looking at the Graves potentially coming into draft alongside with maybe hurting their top lane slightly because Bobo Boba looked so good on this Gwen in the first game. And now they have guaranteed counter pick for one of hopefully their solo laners. So a little bit of draft differences that we're going to see coming into this. And one of the first things I want to talk about is how good this Lux looked in game 1. I think looked very sleeper in the early game. Handled the Syndra lane, which we know is very oppressively strong, really well. And in turn, in mid-game, popped off with some ridiculous damage coming out and finding so much damage in these fights as well because, again, ease of use. And there's something else I want to talk about. We know from game 1 that Violent Impulse drafted this 4-carry comp, and it was incredibly hard to pilot that kind of comp properly. And I'm hoping that when we see this draft coming out in game 2, we're going to see just more bruisers because these champions are so strong at the moment, even with the Gore Drinker nerfs, and they're really easy for you to pilot your pilot other champions through. As I didn't realize, but it looks like VIS eSports are going to lose bans again because they did have to again swap out the 80 carries Vey for XCTC. So that's going to be a little bit of a difference.
It didn't seem to make much of a difference for them in that first game. They weren't massively bothered by it seems, as a lot of power picks left up means that they were able to pick a load up for themselves. And we spoke before about how strong that Gwen was, but it seemed like the one thing that I want to harp on about is how well this VIS squad played as a team. Because it wasn't any individual player really popping off. Every person had their moments.
And that's, I think, also different roles, right? Everybody knew what their roles were. And I think each of those players were playing different champions that do different things. And in turn, that meant they all get to play what they want properly. So we're going to be seeing, hopefully, Smiley and Smite Kingdom, who were the ones to take control of some of these fights, alongside with Bobin, finding some fantastic flanks. Hopefully, we're going to see them hit those same champions, those same style of champions, to keep the draft in their favor.
And I love how Bobo Bobbin, obviously, committed to the name change for a team with Salit that was, and now no longer plays for them. So now you're just stuck.
You know
with
that
your...
happened to me.
Yeah.
I changed the day I changed to OBV Oak was the day that we started running it in every scrim set and games. It was absolutely awful.
And then now you've finally got just Oak back, but it seems like Misfortune is going to be a key pick in this game as that's picked up, but Senna going to be locked in on the flip side.
Yeah, that immediate response comes in as a default. Senna has kind of been seeing some play into this, specifically with some of those farming tanks and bruisers that you can pump into the bot lane, and we hopefully maybe seeing some of these special picks like the set and other champions that work really well with it. I am kind of surprised to see it this early alongside with the Jarvan, which just looks really strong.
To me, Trundle.
Okay.
Never mind. I was going to say
baited.
Jarvan. You know, I was thinking, you know, it could have been maybe the flex. You know, you could have that Jarvan bot lane, but it looks like it's going to be Trundle locked in.
It could be Trundle bot lane.
It could be. You know, I actually think it could be quite good into Misfortune.
And
but...
this is another champion that's been so strong at the moment. We've seen, I think, when DWG locked it in the first set of Worlds, we were all like, haha, yeah, Yuumi, lol, that's so funny. It's just BM. But this champion has looked actually incredibly potent, and has been one of the key picks alongside with this Misfortune that added mobility with Yumi's Zoomies. Is that what it's called?
Yuumi Zoomies.
I don't actually know the spells of Yuumi. It's such a silly champion. Anyway, really easy utility and can play through the MF so easily. And this champion, I think, whilst we initially saw the MF comboed with that Amumu, actually just really potent in general. Strong laning phase. That bullet time has a lot of utility in fights, especially when teams are trying to play forward. So hopefully we'll see a little bit of adaptation from VIS to deal with that pick. As Xin Zhao gets locked in, this is a staple jungler right now and incredibly easy to pilot, which, yeah, I want to see from Draft 2.
And this hover might be something spicy. Going for a little bit of the 2-for-1 bot lane. You hook one, you get two for free. And it seems to be locked in on that one. As Smiley, really confident after that first game.
Damn, he's feeling himself. I do like the Blitzcrank, though. I think when you're looking at the MF Yuumi, one of the big things that people first noticed when Yuumi first came out was, hey, if we're playing Blitzcrank into it, we're not just hooking one champions, we're hooking two. And this plays really well into it. Unfortunately, the Xin Zhao has been picked alongside the Yuumi, and Blitzcrank definitely not really...
not who you want to be pulling in.
Exactly. It's kind of scary. So we finally get to see some bans coming from both sides this time. We see the Gwen taken away from Bobo Bobbin. So it's a bit of an adaptation. I know that top side's a little bit more vulnerable on this blue side draft. And the Syndra and the Silas once again taken away from Key. The Silas, the Syndra even, from Key game one, was their biggest play point for this team. So taking away from Key, I think is really important because it's such a strong blind pick. And that ban hopefully limits Key in terms of what he can pick. And Irelia taking two.
Irelia is such a strong champion, as we all know, so we'll have to see what they opt for this fourth pick. Might be something safe. They are hovering the Gnar right now. Obviously, they're going to blind their top lane and look for that mid lane counter, and Gnar will be their choice.
And Gnar, whilst has dropped off in the spotlight recently, this champion still sees plenty of play. It's the fun little, I'm a little tiny guy and I'm going to ult your whole team into a wall. Really strong champion right now.
Yeah, really
has multiple different builds. Yep. Works well with Stridebreaker and Divine Sunburst, so he's got a lot of different options. Very, very easy to pilot into a lot of different matchups in the top lane as Malphite gets hovered. And this champion, I was going to talk about.
Don't even talk about it.
It's gone. Orianna locked in. This is the safe. This is like putting your money into a hedge fund. It's so safe. It doesn't matter.
You know what? You're only getting 0.2% interest back, but you're getting interest back, and that's pretty much Orianna right now.
And especially with the phase rush that people are doing all the time now, you literally can ignore laning phase completely and wait to get that command shock where you're coming into these mid game fights. As Maud locked in for that counter pick in the top lane. Okay.
Oh, going for that, sending that one through, trying to beat up that poor Gnar just a little bit, but.
I actually want to talk real quick. Hopefully, if we see this, actually, no, we'll talk about it after this draft is concluded. It's going to potentially be talked about the Ori in game one, and we see it locked in here into the Ori. I think this is one of the few champions that can actually make a pick into this Ori in the laning phase.
No. No. We're going to have a nightmare. So, if anyone hasn't heard it already, the way that Oak pronounces Ori and Ari are pretty much the same. So, you will have no clue what champion he's speaking about. So, You might have to use summoner names for this one, buddy.
I'm being called out. I don't like this. But yeah, we are going to see the Ori versus Ari match up in the mid lane.
Ori versus Ori.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh my god, we're back to
Okay,
OGN. It's game 5 OGN, boys. Yeah,
my
so yeah, this is
I'm
one
sorry,
of the few
buddy.
champions. No, I want to talk about it. This is one of the few champions that can actually make the pick into Orianna. Really easy utility with that ultimate to both dodge the shockwave and make the pick with the charm in one fell stroke. So I'm happy to see Shady on another comfort pick because he looks really good in this Lux game 1 as well.
Gives that kill potential, and it does give you a nice little bit of a 2v2 advantage. And you spoke about the phase rush on this Orianna. It can also work to your hindrance. You get charmed in and you ignore the slow, and all of a sudden you're sprinting face first into this Ari, who definitely wants to be close to you.
Absolutely. Anyway, I think when we're looking at these drafts, the first thing we're going to be looking for is which side's looking for these early Drakes, because the scary thing for this red side composition's out early. This champion's so potent within the first 10-15 minutes of the game because of its just excessive dueling power, and especially with the buff that it got to its I've forgotten the spell name. A couple of
Wind becomes lightning.
Thank you. With that enhanced dash range, this champion has a lot of gank access too, so a lot of variability for Sundra to pilot through. And definitely going to be a different matchup to game 1 where we saw him trying to path away from Trundle. So this gives, and especially look at the lanes he gets to play through as well. Whilst the Gnar and Ahri are quite inherently safe, they get to play into Blitzcrank, Senna, and as well as that Gnar into the Mordekaiser matchup. So definitely some lanes to try and get snowballing.
And I have an innate hatred for Yuumi. So I really hope that he goes bot lane, because I hate this champion with a passion. Who thought it'd be a good idea to make a champion where you don't play the game, but not only that, you scale really well? My brain just explodes, and I have a nickname for her, and the nickname is the Leech, because so often in like, especially not like pro play, what will happen is, you know, Yuumi will be doing fine, she's chilling in lane, obviously you're not having a great time, you're just vibing, and then like your top laner will be 5-0, and then Yuumi will go, oh, top laner's strong, I'm gonna sit on them, and then saps like levels worth of XP, and your top laner ends up behind when they were ahead.
You know, have you seen that Draven one trick in EUS in Masters? He plays Yuumi with his feet. Legitimately, what? This is not. He has 2 summoners and 2 monitors, and he plays Yuumi with his feet. And then he uses like a what they call like a stream deck to input Yumi's spells whilst he's playing as Draven.
What? But how does he aim them?
Sorry, he just doesn't use Yuumi Q.
Oh. He just
he attaches and he literally just only presses E and R. It's he has the mouse for Yuumi so that he can direct the art. It's really funny. Anyway, finally, before we're looking at this, I want to talk about this Mordekaiser pick real quick as we jump back into the game real quick. When we're looking at how Gnar wants to access these fights, I think Spike's adaptation here is really, really strong. Not only does it do a really good job of limiting Gnar, especially in the mid game, one of Gnar's very annoying attributes is that W, which gives him the ability to just proc the free passive and then run away. Mordekaiser shuts that down completely. But on top of that, as soon as Gnar's engage is really, really linear, but really potent. Mordekaiser Death Realm shuts that down completely. As soon as you see that Gnar find that jump combo and look for the Mega Gnar transformation, Death Realm him, he only finds that single stun, and it limits so much of the fighting capability for VIS here. I really like this adaptation. It's just the most important thing is getting this Mordekaiser snowballing within the early game. So we're going to be looking at Sundra here and seeing how he chooses to path, because I want to see as much focus put onto first ensuring the safety of his bot lane, and then snowballing this Mord as much as possible to set up a really potent 4-1 comp.
So it seems like what we have is on both sides. There's we are going to learn into the game, so obviously we're going to have to pause at 10 seconds. But it seems like what we have from both sides is it's kind of a flipped map state where we look at this VIS side and they have a really hard winning bot lane that they want to snowball and make sure that that can get an advantage, but a kind of weak side top. Whereas on the flip side, Violent Impulse has a really weak side, a really strong top laner that they want to snowball, but more of that weak side bot.
Anyway, just going to be hopefully heading into game really shortly.
Yes, we are.
Brilliant. Leading into game 2, I'm so excited to see these players play. I want to see level 1 shenanigans.
I mean, and you asked for it, and it looks like it might be presented as this VIS side is looking to run towards this bot lane, do the classic invade.
I
the
love
most
this
common one.
invade so much, especially if you don't guard this point properly. As this like that Violent are gonna guard this path properly, so they're gonna quickly spot out this Blitzcrank as they walk in. Drop the ward down. Smiley's still looking for it though.
He was going to sprint on through. He's angry now, but this time, obviously, they have to Blitzcrank. They committed all 5 members to try to get that early kill, which means that they don't get the ward. But on the flip side, Violent Impulse able to get that counter ward.
And we saw this in game 1. Violent Impulse had the better level 1 vision control, and it's showing off here. Once again, that means that Sundra is going to have the option to path with or against the Trundle in terms of if he's starting to top side. It does look like he's going to be starting in this top side, and I did talk about how he wants to impact this Mordecai, so we're going to see how that plays out. In turn, though, this does give him access into first contesting Smite Kingdom within that first scuttle rotation. But on top of that, it gives him access to the spot side. And we know that Smite Kingdom's going to be trying to access the Blitzcrank lane as much as possible. It's their real early game pre-6 pick point for them. So hopefully Sunder is on point with finding a counter gank.
The thing is, it now leaves you in an isolated top lane matchup, whereas bot lane is going to have both junglers playing towards it. And you spoke about how Mordecai is going to want to get an advantage there, but you still can't forget it is a Gnar, and Gnar is ranged in those early levels.
Yeah, he's going to be really irritating for Spike to handle properly. And even though we saw the early pressure from Spike in last game play really well, now the ball's in the other court. So hopefully Spike can minimize that as much as possible. And the first thing we'll be looking towards is itemization, because unlike Bobo Bobbin, he's actually chosen to go Doran Shield, which is such an easy safety tool in the early game, and it's going to give them a lot of access. Yuumi trading is really obnoxious in these first 2 levels.
It's annoying, man. Like, you're getting hit, you find yourself a good trade, and then Yuumi goes, nah, it's time for a heal. No, that trade wasn't as good as you thought it was. But not only that, look at that MF damage. The Comet added on, the double up is just so oppressive in the early game.
And we've been seeing the Comet a lot. MF doesn't really heavily synergize with any of these keystones. And when being picked with this Yuumi and trying to get as much early game pressure as possible, we'll see this Comet picked alongside that to do exactly as we're seeing now. Early trades with that E, find as much damage as possible to get this wave shove and find easy free resets.
And we're seeing, the nerfs possibly going to start affecting Ratboy. It was a mana nerf onto that MF, so you couldn't be as oppressive in this lane, and already at half mana, only 3 minutes into the game. So we'll have to see how much of an impact that has on this matchup.
As we see, Bobo gets a shove in, and it does mean he gets an early reset, and he's looking for the cheater here. I'd be surprised if he pulls it off. I don't think his wave timing is quite right, but this does give him free access TP and potentially limit Spike's TP in this early game if he can continue to get pressure on the other side. But other than that, we're seeing contestation on this scuttle.
Nice roam from Key to find their way up there and contest that one. As Director Cam says, it's nothing important up there. We've got bot lane trading happening.
Let's watch Yuumi trade. That's more fun, right? Anyway, luckily with Key having this rotation, because of how slow they rotate, it does mean that I'm assuming Smite Kingdom's going to have the wave pressure in mid lane to be able to look for this top scuttle, as Sandra just clears out some vision in the bot lane, threatening this center a little bit. As we see this wave slow pushing in, this is a really scary place for this center Blitzcrank to be in at the moment.
And while they have a lot of aggressive tendencies, they can play really well with that wave pushed in. If they're caught out, not really many peeling capabilities from either of those champs.
Yeah, one thing I want to know briefly, we talked about how strong Ratboy's presence in this lane wasn't the early, but so far and large, Visit eSports has, Sandra's looking for that gank.
Smiley looks a bit caught out. They have the flashes available. They might have to use them. Wind becomes lightning. Will be able to get them onto these champions, but flash used. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Spike is going to be engaged onto. Has already used that flash, so should go down from this one as First Blood is donated over to the Trundle.
And I talked about how important this early matchup is in the top lane. I think Smite, Kingdom, and Bobo Bobbin take fair notice of that. Get an early kill onto this Trundle, which is great as well. The Gnar doesn't really care for the gold. He wants to stay even as possible, and hopefully Smite Kingdom can convert some of this gold to the rest of his map.
As we say, that Dragon looking to be taken by this Violent Impulse's side. They had that bot lane pressure that came through. The bases had to be taken from XCTC and Smiley, which means you found yourselves with a nice free Dragon.
And this is a great early Drake to be taking. You never want to see the Cloud Drake like they saw in Game 1. So getting that Mountain Drake early going to feel really nice. And Sunrise should be able to continue on with this clear pretty normally. One thing I want to note, Spike didn't bother to TP back to the top lane. But in return, look at this repeat gank. Perfect timing here.
Yeah, luckily didn't TP back in, because might be needing to use that one after that gank comes through. But Smite Kingdom just rotates back to top lane and gets another kill.
And that was the worst wave state for him to be in. There we go. Won't stumble on my words anymore. And the big important thing now is Thunder needs to path to this top side. He needs to help out this Mordekaiser as much as possible, because the wave state exactly as it was before. And we look at Smite Kingdom's potential pathing right now. Look at where he's aligned up to. Front Wolves, Wraiths red, and then he can path to top lane again.
And literally right now you've got Spike Spiegel walking 500 miles just for some single CS.
And he's going to walk 500 more.
And he will walk 500 more to find himself in that CS. Has the teleport, opts not to use it, and is finding himself in a nice little deficit in this lane, and a possible freeze as Bobo Bobbin jumps forward, uses the Gnar, uses the Wallop to get some damage on there, but Spike Spiegel is fighting this one now, has the Conqueror stacked, Bobo Bobbin has the stun, but the damage just isn't there, and Sundara is here first as the greed will get through, and Sundara will make sure to get Spike a little bit back into this game.
There we go. Fantastic rotation from Sundara there to punish definitely over-aggression by Bobbin. Even with that level lead, we have to think about Conqueror Mordekaiser. That's not a champion you want to be fighting face first. And because he didn't have that Mega Gnar passive up right from the start, it was already half gone when he started that rotation. Turns into mini at the worst time. Sundara gets a pick onto it, as that's a big damage.
And what I need to see from both top laners now is both of them obviously opting to save those TPs. You need to use it now. If they end up not using these TPs before that 12-minute mark, you've saved it essentially for nothing. As Smiley looking for a hook there, but the speed up from Ratboy and Lamps is too much as they're countering the play now, jumping forward, and the route is there, but Smiley now doesn't have hook.
And fantastic trades from Ratboy here. We're seeing how he maybe suffered a little bit in game 1, but seeming a lot more in his comfort zone here. And these double ups are fantastic. Repeatedly finding these enhanced double ups with that bonus damage onto XCTC. And he's really kind of struggling in this lane, as that Tensius lead they had built up almost gone. As look at this aggression.
And Smiley, I don't think that was the hook you wanted to land. That might be the death of both of you. So praise the Lord that you didn't land that one. But you spoke about the jungle pathing, and Smite Kingdom has found themselves in the top lane on that Krugs now. But a TP being used by Shady. Counter TP going to be used by Key as well. And Sundara is down here. Meanwhile, Smite Kingdom's on the opposite side of the map. Ultimate going to have to be used to get away from that one, and big wave going to be pushed in as another teleport. Everyone's down here, but been cancelled by Spike. He's angry about it, uses the Gnar into the wall, not happy about that one at all, but a dive coming through into the top lane. Ultimate use though, it's so good as the turret is being tanked, but Spike Spiegel possibly going to go down here. Smite Kingdom ready to claim that one as soon as the ultimate ends, but some nice mechanics will stall it out for a second.
Yeah, unfortunately wasn't able to find that. I think the beauty of the pressure of this Gnar is that Gnar cooldown is so low. You're finding that Gnar ultimate basically every single transformation and finding really big damage on this Mord. And we're looking at itemization. This is why Spike is suffering so much. Even with that solo kill found, 30 CS down. So, and alongside with that pressure from Smite Kingdom, I mean, there you go. The TP finally forced down.
TP finally used in the top lane, and it's not going to be really that much of a negative because you were able to cancel Bobo Bobbins out. But meanwhile, in the bot lane, Smiley just jumping forward, lands the rocket punch, lands the hook as well. Ratboy is so low, but there's a Yuumi just autoing away, gets the one kill, goes over to the MF, and Sundara is on their way now. XCTC thinks they found a kill, but no. In fact, Sundara has found you, and they're going to be able to pick that one up for free.
I think XCTC and Smiley play through their best bet to find a lead in this lane. They're immediately on reset, and we see a big purchase from XCTC. Noon Quiver, and an incredibly gold efficient item that you want to be purchasing as early as possible. Hits that plus pickaxe. They try and find that all in, but you have to respect jungle path, and we've seen how their junglers wanted to play this early game. They've been playing through this top side, and in return, that means that Sandra is going to play through his lanes in the bot side, finds that fantastic counter, and yeah, I think even though we're seeing gold edging onto VIS eSports here, Violent Impulse have a really easy avenue to play through this early game, and they picked up this early Drake, and it should be leading into the second one.
Do we see right now what both teams are prioritized in terms of vision? A lot of red side vision in the top side, a lot of blue side vision in the bot side, but it is going to be flipped around as this VIS side is opting to put vision down in that bot lane. As Smiley flashes forward, hits the hook onto Key, flash is used, the charm can't be used, shockwave onto 3, that might be huge, that might turn the fight as the first kill goes down. Key survives that one. Moving forward, oh my lord, Key, the star player happening right now, is Bobo bobbing from the other side, looking to take on Spike. As Spike pulls him into the turret, but that might not be what you want, as Flash is used and Dragon is gonna be taken.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic play from Key there. Really, we'll say he knows his boundaries, shall we? As he finds a fantastic slither of HP there to find 2 kills for Sundra, and on top of that, that unlocks second Drake. And we talked in draft about how Violent and Impulse they're looking for these first 2 Drakes. We know that they want to be on sell point as quickly as possible. They want to play through this into our early game, and they do it fantastically here. So even with that gold deficit, they're looking really strong. I think now we're looking at how can they stop the bleeding in this top side. We want to see how much they can minimize the pressure that this 11-minute Sundra Nara has got in this top lane. I'm looking for lane rotations. I want to see Spike out of this lane, if possible, into a place where he can farm freely, and this involves unlocking some of these side turrets. Oh
that
my.
damage was mental. Another one of those, and XCTC might be dead. But I just want to point out now, when we speak about how well Key is playing, what's worth noting is that this mid lane matchup has been pretty much 1 versus 1. And he has still found a 30 CS lead in this matchup, which we said might be Ahri favoured.
Yeah, exactly. Ahri has the pick in this matchup. This is one of these champions that actually does pretty well into Ahri. And doesn't matter. Key looks fantastic as he did in game 1, and this is a different game for him now. Instead of playing one of these pick, solo kill focused champions, this is Orianna. This is the team fight queen at hand, and if they're able to pilot this champion properly in the mid game, I mean, they have really easy champions to play through. The bullet time is such a good combination on top of that, and this Sinzao is so potent. Look at how strong he is right now. He's going to be on his Gore Drinker very quickly, or maybe Sundra even. So excited to see how they play this mid game.
And I see in the top lane, there's a little bit of a differential happening there. I believe you yourself,
just a little bit.
You had a banger tweet earlier, my friend, where you spoke about the Bible of top lane and how junglers need to gank up there, otherwise someone's going 7-0 and someone's going 0-7. But
it seems like
it seems like Smite Kingdom might have been reading your tweets, because the first gank top has just led to such a huge difference in that top lane.
But that's the thing, we identified it in draft. This matchup is really snowballing. Not being a ranged champion in of itself gives really easy ways to continue to pressure up leads. As honestly, a really good not a really good Herald coming out from this side here. When we're using this Herald, we need to think about,
what? That damages so much in the Yuumi. The final chapter is used. It's going to root up CTC, who had the flash but didn't even get to use it. And Shockwave still available now. The slow coming through onto Smiley. That should definitely be a kill, but he hits both with the Shockwave. Key playing like an absolute monster, able to secure a second kill in that bot lane.
And just team-wide synergy there. We see Key already has the know-how, rotates down on top of Sundra moving down there. So whilst we do see them try that, we do see VIS eSports try and make that aggressive play. Sundra and Key are already on it. They get the counter engage, 2 kills picked up. And I wanted to talk about that Herald real quick, because what an inefficient use of that item. They're trying to play for these plates as quickly as possible. But the way to really use this Herald properly is maybe a fight's going to break out.
Fight going to break out. Sundra is moving forward onto Shady. The ultimate used from that Senna, but the damage is absolutely huge. It's mental, as Lamps is going to die down here as well. It is going to be 2 kills over, but still, that was an alpha play by that those 2 players.
Yeah, very aggressive play. The big mistake there was thinking that you can outstat check a Trundle. That subjugate, reducing that, armor and MR by 40% means that even with the Yuumi on top of him, really not strong enough to take that essentially 1v2. And on top of that, Smiley's on that reset timer, finds the hook onto the Yuumi, very aptly timed there to pick up that second kill. But yeah, I want to talk about this Herald. I'm going to find time to talk about it. They use the Herald on turret. They use it too late to find the plate. And on top of that, because they don't get it below that half HP turret margin as they're going to pick up the turret anyway, doesn't really find effective use of it, and just kind of wasting their time. The whole time taking the Herald in the first lane was also time wasted. I was a bit of engaged from Bobo.
Yeah, on that way to that 0-7 mark for Spike Spiegel. Actually, they've already ruined the mantra. He's got 1 kill, but the idea still stands in that situation.
I mean, see, the problem is with top lane is that sometimes you end up in this situation. You have to make a choice. Do I continue to die to remain XP'd up as much as possible and keep CSing, or do I just play as safely as possible, minimize giving gold to Bobo, but in turn become a useless sack of garbage? And he's choosing to do both here.
Yeah, choosing to die and
look, now that he's traded for no reason, he also loses all the XP anyway. So
loses the XP.
Spike in game 1 did have a lot of struggles against Bobo. Once he did find that initial solo kill, he looked really lost coming into mid game, and especially in that side lane, really struggled to deal with that Gwen. And we're kind of seeing a similar scenario set up here.
Smiley uses that hook early, didn't really have the vision control to properly hunt for that one, and the issue was there wasn't really anyone around, and they don't really have the burst to kill much off. Now we see river pressure coming through from this Violent Impulse side, which definitely bodes well for them having that Orianna.
Absolutely, and this is the key thing with the Ori. Once you're on this Drake first, once you're the ones to start it, it is so hard to walk into the threat of this shockwave combo, and I think VIS eSports very smart adapt there immediately on it. They see the Drake being taken, they go, we're going for this mid turret. But the thing is, it's so scary. They have big flash, but fails the hook.
Yeah, uses that one, misses the hook as they're going to go for the fight now. And Spike Spiegel dead before anything happens, but so is Smiley. Final chapter used, rooted up on XCTC, but here comes Bobo Bobbin, the big carry. That is where all the gold is, but can they do anything? They can't even get to that Mega Gnar point as Sundra has a Yumi on them, and they're so strong. Bullet time forces 2 flashes. Smite Kingdom is going to go down here, and Bobo Bobbin, Mega Gnar's out at the end of the fight.
I just want to give a shout out to Lamstef for some actually really good, I don't want to say it, but some really good Yumi play there. Detaches in the perfect time to proc the passive, keep that mana up so that he can use those, is it Zoomies? It's actually called Zoomies. Okay, to get the Zoomies back onto Sundra and stays on Sundra for basically the whole fight, knowing he is the player to protect at the moment. He's the one that they're going to be able to push as much damage through. Fantastic play from his whole team, and I think even from Spike there, even though he didn't find that death roam in time to try and keep himself alive for longer, that double pull, I should say, on the Death's Grasp was a fantastic pick to be making and really helped their team play through that fight correctly. And third Drake being picked up, they mitigate mid turret being taken, and they get to pick up the Herald as well. It's looking, even again, the gold lead is still in VIS eSports side, but it looks like Violent Impulse are really in control of this game.
And I think it's all because of this top lane, but Bobo Bobbin and Smiley have found a 2 versus 4 now. They don't seem to want it after the hook lands, but I think all of this gold is just in the top lane. Yeah, we see 2.7 thousand gold lead for Bobo Bobbin, whereas the rest of the lanes are kind of even apart from that mid lane, and that's what's created this gold lead that VIS still has, despite all of these fights going the way of Violent Impulse.
We also need to talk about standing gold, because actually Violent Impulse haven't unlocked a turret yet, and this is the big reason why this Sen is actually leading in gold against this MF right now, because they managed to get the double plating with that initial usage of the first Herald and then unlock that bot turret on top of that. It's actually gold leading on the MF right now, the 3-1 MF with equal CS, and they just managed to solo unlock this mid turret as well. So whilst we're talking about how Violent Impulse look in control, this gives a lot of space for. We saw how good Smiley was with this vision control, with creating space to make these picks. The ball's in his court to look for these further picks, especially when Lamp's playing by himself. This is a squishy champion.
Yeah, Lamps, definitely. And especially trying to get that vision control yourself as a Yumi is not the way I would suggest doing it.
It's really scary. You basically have to tell your jungler where to path, because you can't path that way yourselves. Well, that should be how it is anyway. Anyway, yeah, gonna see a return to neutral state here. Big thing is, look at the vision right now. I mean, I was just saying how good Smiley is at creating this vision, but red side has a vision line.
A very big line of that. Yep. A lot of wards in that bot side, and
I think that's I was going to say, I'm assuming it's dead wards. The,
there we
zombie
we
wards.
see all of those zombie wards coming out, and on this note, we see 3 yellow trinkets still there for the side of Violent Impulse. Do you think maybe they need to be swapping some of those to some blues, or maybe get themselves some sweepers?
Especially with the MF Yumi combo, this is a really vulnerable combo, right? You want to see this blue trinket picked up on that level 9 point as soon as you have access to it. So does look like he opts into it now. So great, I get to be right again.
You always are.
Of that, hopefully once Mordekaiser's in the space to play in this side, he's probably going to stay on this yellow trinket, but he can opt to swap into the red once he gets in a couple of items and can start grouping with the rest of his team, because vision limitation is really the name of their game. They want to inhibit as much vision as possible, play around this Blitzcrank and Anari looming pick threat, and just be on the objectives first. Because how scary is the Oriana, shockwave combo into that MF bullet time?
And I just want to do a quick check. I did a check for souls.
My check.
34 at 20 minutes. That is definitely not where you want to be for this center. So really far behind on that.
You
center.
are the king of this, because I'm not actually super aware of where Senna's passive needs to be at this moment in time. But 34 doesn't sound great. It's a big flash.
Big flash, counter flash from Ratboy, really well played there, keeps him alive. And Bobo Bobbin, once again, not going to have that Mega Gnar for this fight, going to have that cooldown. So we look from VIS, they're going to want to stall this out as long as possible, because Bobo Bobbin is their strongest member right now. And seemingly, outside of a big Blitzcrank hook, kind of their only engage.
And the scary thing is, exactly with this Herald available, they're perfectly on it. They summon the Herald, they're going to use this to try and displace mid, and at the same time, now the response from VIS eSports means that, they're just walking into this dragon. Perfect stancing here.
Straight onto Bobo Bobbin, who almost has that Mega Gnar, but the root comes through into bullet time. It's cancelled, which is good, but it doesn't matter. So much damage, so much zone control, and even though VIS finds themselves ahead in gold still, it does not matter, because Violent Impulse is just playing better as a team.
And everybody loves Infernal Soul, baby. That bonus damage feels so good, and it plays perfectly into the comp they're trying to choose. We say it every single draft, every single game. The team who fights first wins, and it goes so well with this Infernal Soul. Being able to do exactly that combo we talked about, the Shockwave MF combo. I've really struggled to see how VIS eSports are going to be able to find really key 5v5 points now. So the big thing now is look at their pick potential. They still have the Blitzcrank. This Ari, which we talked about in draft, this is his second key range carry. How are they going to be able to play picks through?
What is that build from Smiley?
Wait, I should be looking at this. I'm assuming that means he's going a
Shirelia's will most likely be the option, but so squishy now. Is Smiley just getting blown up? Not the game for them. They played so well last game, but this game, it ain't it, buddy. You go down there. Bobo Bobbin's going to be slowed up. Sundara looking for blood as XCTC gets out, but mid lane is being sieged on.
We can absolutely talk about the build, because just as you mentioned it, look how squishy he is. And with Infernal on top of the Yumi buffed Sundra with that Gorging being built.
Moves forward now. Engage comes through from Sundra. First kill onto the Trundle. Bobo Bobbin is behind them. Are you going to look for this? It's 3 versus 5. You don't want this, as the good ultimate from Spike Spiegel keeps Bobo Bobbin out of the fight. Not able to do anything with this Mega Gnar. And Smiley missing another hook. It's a rough game for this.
And there's so much pressure on Shady Almighty. Shady Almighty. Almighty. So much pressure on Shady and Bobo to limit this Baron
Shadaya Lemigiti.
God, where did my brain go? Anyway,
we see Shadaya Lemigiti pick onto Key.
Oh my god, that's a big shutdown. That's 500. That's 800 gold going over to Shady and on top of Shadaya, sorry, and that stops the Baron as well. Really fantastic pick from Shadaya and Smiley there to limit the Baron, and they're looking for it now. They know the Key is a key player to try and find these team fights, and they're taking it straight back again. And look, blue side doesn't know. The vision is completely restricted. Big
Smiley
hook.
lands a big hook into a charm, was instantly obliterated, and that crushing strike is huge from Sundara. Pretty much can't die with that Yumi on them. Is going to get shut down. Lamp's not going to be able to make it to anyone else as Spike Spiegel.
Does he have the
He's
W?
going to die. Has the W. Ace comes through, and just as we spoke about how well Violent Impulses was doing, Shadaya Mikiti able to pop off in that fight.
And we can talk about where it all went wrong. It was this pick onto Key. We said it already. They need to be playing. We talked about how Shady and Smiley, they need to find these picks. They can't find these 5v5 team fights now. They find the pick onto Key, unlock him. That puts these resets on a really awful timer for the rest of Violent Impulse, and they continue to try and fight. 4 people get unlocked. That's complete. Not only the Baron gets unlocked, so a load of XP going over to VIS eSports, but on top of that, they get a whole load of shutdowns going onto their side, and they're straight back in the gold lead again. Baron unlocked, and looking real scary suddenly for Violent Impulse, who looked so in control for so long. Suddenly, they're a little bit lost.
And the thing is, the thing that worries me for this VIS side is you fought there at a numbers advantage, and you were able to get the pick, but Soul is that infernal soul. That dragon does so much damage, and there's still this Oriana and MF Wombo combo that is so devastating.
Yeah, honestly, there's play from both teams can really decide this. This is the games we want to see in playoffs so far. Losers bracket, we're in game 2, and it's almost neck and neck. Even with the gold lead being there, once again, it's mostly on Bobo Bobbin, who had a fantastic game 1. So can he do the same thing he did in game 1? Can he extend some of that gold to the rest of his team? And especially, can they play to their win cons? Are they going to be able to enable these initial picks that we saw work so well for them so far through Smiley, through Shadaya, and potentially, you know, I think if they're able to make a pick onto Key, but not even Key, just anybody with the Yumi, that initial first pick to stop Sundara from absolutely blowing up any member of their team could be really important. As does look like the Blitzcrank opts into that Shirelia's really looking to play through their potential picks options because they know their team fighting is now so limited.
And Electrocute on that Blitzcrank as well, we kind of didn't talk about it before. It hasn't really done much outside of lane, but I do just want to point 1 minute 15 until Elder. The benefit of taking that soul is you get soul for yourself, but the negative is now you've got to fight for this Elder and you're down on gold.
Oh, and Bobo really chunks out these turrets. Yep, making a pick.
Uses a Gnar. Ultimate going to be used by Spike Spiegel, but I don't think that's the situation you want to be in as turret is down. Kill going to be used. Smiley lands a big hook. It's on to Ratboy. They kill the first one. They're going on to Lamps now as well, but Sundara has picked that one up, has got the leech on them, but Root going to come through. Big shockwave should kill CTC as Lamps is healing. It's massive, but is it enough? Sundara just about survives. Lamps jumps over the wall. Key will get them out of there, but no, a double kill from Bobo. Bobbin must have been a flying auto attackers. Right now it's chaotic, but it seems to be in the favor of VIS.
Yeah, this unlocks 4 members down. They're looking for this Elder that's coming up. On top of that, they can potentially unlock this mid turret as well. And whilst we talked about, these are potential objectives they can be taking, but we're seeing really how these team fights are starting to play out, and about how when Violent Impulse do end up in these more choke areas, you know, when they're not able to be on the objective first, look how limited they are in their scope of potential fighting. Ratboy got blown up in that fight, and once again, it happened last fight as well, and it's showing
and
that
it
even with this build, with the Yomu second, so vulnerable.
And it shouldn't happen because Ratboy had flash available, but didn't use that one, got hit by the hook, and definitely paid for it as Elder. They're posturing now, both teams.
But look at Bobo Bobbin. Once again, he's on this flank point, and we're going to look at whether or not he's lending towards this Mega, and he's building up as we speak. So this is going to be a real big point. When we're looking at this fight, look where Bobo Bobbin is.
As blue trinkets are going to be used, they haven't got any vision in this river at all. That's the negative of Yumi. Yumi can't face check. Sundara has to walk up, and they're looking for a fight now.
And they walk in as a core unit, and the only scary point, obviously, when you're grouping up...
The hook is massive from Smiley! Hits it onto Key, can't use that shockwave. Spike has taken Smite Kingdom into the death row and will die for this one, but Bobo Bobbin is here, has found 2, uses the Gnar, gets the stun off onto Sundara, and they should be looking to just follow through this right, but Ratboy goes onto Shady. Shady has to use that Zonya's, flashes away, level up will keep them alive, but this could possibly be the Elder Dragon going down.
And that's it, and we see it again. Another fantastic hook from Smiley. We were talking about maybe, they're not looking so good in game 2. Doesn't matter. 3 big hooks, 3 big plays, get fantastic initial picks. And the bullet time command shockwave that we talked about, how strong it is in these fights, but both of these ultimates are still up because there's no time to use them. They unlock 4, it's Elder taken, and it's completely in VIS eSports hands now to try and make this a clean 2-0.
And that means that Elder, you want to look to get these fights now, but in a minute and 30 seconds they will have Baron. They will still have Elder buffs available on them, so that should be an easy objective to follow up with if they want to play this one safe.
Big thing now, we want to see these teams pushing at the same time. As with Baron, you want to be on the map at the same time, and we're seeing how Bobo's, he's starting for the pick, but doesn't look like Ratboy's going to look for that aggression. And big thing now is get these waves shoved in, let Smiley do his thing, work his magic, clear through some of that vision, and they can once again look for this pick. And with this Elder, it is so hard to look for a fight for Violent Impulse.
And that's the thing, Smiley, we spoke about not having the best game, but with Blitzcrank, you can miss 100 hooks, but as long as the one you hit is on a key target, that champion just becomes the best champion in the game.
Absolutely. Big thing to be talking at now is we're looking at the builds. I want to, real quick, with Ratboy, with this build, with this penetration build, that 3 item spike isn't going to be as big as XCTC being on the Kraken Rageblade Fire Cannon combo.
Oh my god, he's another one, Smiley! What are you doing to poor Key? Key just can't do anything to duke out of these, and no stopwatch, no Zonyas means that no life for Key.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a really hard position to be in. They've lost their big teamfight engage point. And Smiley's, he's running up again. He wants to find another one. This is double inhib, potentially more.
He's feeling himself as these hooks are starting to hit. He's starting to find key targets, and at the moment you've not got anyone that can tank them. Sundara can't reasonably tank all 5 members, so can't take that one. Ratboy obviously doesn't want to get hit. Spike Spiegel so far behind, but Rage Bar gonna jump in, looking for the dunk. Can't find anything there, but the flash forward will get onto Sundara. But the trunk is huge. The ult will be used. The death realm from Spike Spiegel will kill off Smiley, but this fight continues as CTC seems to be strong now, but they will have to back away because the pressure from that soul is starting to even out this game a bit.
Yeah, so almost coming off. They lose 1 member. Baron's still a play for them, however, as they go in these resets, because doubling him down means that Violent Impulse always have to have 1 member in base controlling these waves, because Bobo Bobbin right now, huge side lane player. If he can get on this red, get a quick reset in and start to pressure these side lanes, Spike can't handle him, Key potentially can't handle him. Who are they going to send to deal with him as the rest of his team look for this Baron? His TP's almost up. They had their play. Can they play through it?
But he's got a mid-wave, and he's pushing in the mid-wave Oak, and I don't know if he's opting for the flank here. They look like they want to fight rather than go for the split, but Bobo Bobbins alone is going to be caught out by Spike Spiegel. Jumps away, keeps himself alive as they push you for this Baron now.
Yeah, they do have... ultimates aren't up yet for Violent Impulse, so they're really limited in terms of if they can look for this fight or not. And we see this inhib on this botway pressuring in. Spells a free Baron for VIS eSports, and now we're questioning, how can Violent Impulse look for this return? We've seen the command shockwave bullet time combo be played before, but they're so limited in terms of how they can play these fights now. Big thing is, if they're playing in their base, they have these open spaces available. That gives these options once again to not only potentially look for flanks for Spike Spiegel, to maybe Death Realm somebody like Bo Bobbin to limit some of that counter engage options, but on top of that, the command shockwave bullet time becomes a big option once again.
And look at the itemization of Bobo Bobbin. Does not fear this Mordekaiser at all. Pretty much building just to negate that Xin Zhao and that MF. Feels very confident that they'll be able to beat that Mordekaiser. Feels very confident that Key won't be able to one-shot them. So just itemizing that death stance, keeping themselves topped up against this misfortune.
I mean, the man has a 2-item lead. I think, you know, if we look at just Sundra Sterix, that's looking just as potent as this Riftmaker Zonyas that Spike's been able to desperately claw at in this game so far, ignoring the fact that he has access to that Thorma healing reduction. Mordekaiser is one of these sustaining AP bruisers that he loves. He wants to keep regenning, like Bobo Bomber did in game 1, as they're looking to unlock this triple inhib here, and triple inhib is a doom case for teams. It is so hard to come back from that triple inhib threat as they're just walking in.
Triple inhib and Baron available possibly after this one as they walk forward. They don't quite want to throw the game yet here though. They're playing it safe, playing around these waves and looking to close this one out clean.
Fantastic play from VIS eSports. This is how you play these choke situations. There's another pick onto Key.
He's caught out, has the Zonyas though to keep themselves alive, as Sundra going to back them up here, and they are making the last stand. This is the hold of the Alamo right now, as they're trying to survive with these turrets getting so low.
Exactly, these Nexus turrets falling so low, they will regen, but they're going to lose this top inhib turret. This is triple inhib going down for sure. How long can VIS keep playing this game? We're seeing HP slowly depleted from both sides. This does give Key and Ratboy again some play as a pick on Key.
Bullet time is there though, it's huge, but the ultimate back from Smite Kingdom. Bobo Bobbin runs forward, that's 3 kills already. Ratboy's gonna go down for sure, as Shady doesn't quite have the damage there, but that will be the series over to VIS eSports.
And fantastically played from this team, not only in game 1 showing such a phenomenal dominance from these players in mid-game. Once again, we see it in game 2. And a special shout-out to Smiley, who is by far my MVP for this series. I don't care if it's too early to call it. The Blitzcrank hooks, he misses 100. He hits 5, 6 in a row on the same target. Key did not get to play that game out at all.
I mean, look at that. If we go to damage graphs, Smiley did more damage than the Mordekaiser did. Did 11,000. Really playing well in this game. Doing a lot of, especially in those late game fights. Yes, we spoke about how the early game was rough, but it's that Blitzcrank thing. You don't need to hit every hook. You just need to hit the important ones. And Smiley hit multiple hooks on key targets that just carried them through the late game.
On top of that, I want to give shouts to Bobo Bobbin for creating such a fantastic lane state in both games. The solo kill in game 1 didn't look great, but outside of that, he looked phenomenal on both these champions here. And I think, we talk about where Smite Kingdom and potentially his pitfalls in the early game, but he did what he needed to in this early game to secure a lead for his top laner. And then when that gold was rotated into his team beautifully. And again, we talked about in game 1, look at the roles that each player played. And I think once again, they found it in game 2. Bobo Bobbin and the rest of his team knew what roles they were playing for these team fights. And once they hit that mid-game stride and they knew how to, and that initial, the first pick on Key completely swapped how it was played, because as soon as Smiley wasn't as restricted on this vision, everybody's roles aligned. Smiley makes the pick. Shady plays through it, and the rest of his team play their roles to perfection, completely just turning the game around from almost complete control from Violent Impulse to complete control from VIS eSports.
I just want to point out how Lamps had the most damage on his team by a decent margin. 2k damage more building Moonstone.
Holy shit.
That's got to feel really bad. Lamps, I feel like, played really well on that. I obviously don't often think that Yumi's a very hard champion to play, but even so, there were small micro things that were really helping get Lamps into that game.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I'm just kind of sad this is loser's bracket, because I think actually Violent Impulse had a really good showing in this series so far, whilst they showed definite weaknesses coming into mid-game. We have to talk about this early game and Sunderen, how well he played to pilot through his bot lane and find these key leads. They got the 4 soul, and they got the first 2 Drakes in first game too. Being on that soul point is it's both a really good place to be in, and also then a really bad place to be falling off of.
And we saw there that I feel like what we saw in both games was that even though Violet Impulse was kind of able to get themselves some advantages in solo lanes and stuff like that in the 1v1 matchups, this VIS side was so good as a team. But as we talk about this, what we're going to do is we're going to go straight into an interview. We're going to be interviewing, I believe, the jungler and the support from that team. So Smite Kingdom and Smiley, I'm pretty sure, as we move them in. How are you guys doing after that game?
Pretty good. That's it.
Pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're obviously going to be happy you got yourselves the win. We'll get straight into it. I'll just send the first question straight to you, Smiley. I mean, amazing series from you. I just want to ask you, where did the idea come from for the Blitzcrank pick?
Well, we were essentially going into draft in the second game, where we realized that, okay, Misfortune's going to be open B1, so they're probably going to go Misfortune Yumi, because it's just really, really strong right now. And we realized that, well, if I just hook the person, Yumi essentially counts as an extra person on top of someone that you can't really target, right?
Yeah.
So if I hook someone that has Yumi on top of him, that's 2 for 1. But also if I hook someone that's not with them, like not with Yumi, Yumi can't peel that person,
Mm.
right? So if I hook, like in the last couple of fights, I was able to hook the Oriana because Yumi was always on Xin Zhao or Misfortune.
Hmm.
Mm.
She can't protect the Oriana. Like the Mordekaiser wouldn't be able to get to him neither with Xin Zhao, so the person who hooked would get just killed.
Fantastic. Honestly, no, I was really hyped with the Blitz. And yeah, we talked about it in draft, and I think you played through it in perfection once you hit that mid game stride. And so, okay, talking about that mid game stride, I want to talk about second game real quick because as soon as you made that first pick onto Key, the game seemed to immediately turn in your favor. How was, you were in such a tough spot coming into that first, especially once they hit that Infernal Soul. How was the mental? And after you made that pick, did it immediately flip?
Well, originally, we kind of know that Blitzcrank is one of those X Factor champions
Mhm.
where one pull can change the game. So we were just like, if we're there first, if we're to the objective first, and we don't let them engage on us, and we force the engage before they can like position correctly and set up the lines of scrimmage, we know we could win. And as soon as we got that one fight, this was right around the Elder, right? Once
Yeah.
we got that pick and we got the Elder fight, we knew that okay, like it's winnable now because we got so much off of that. We got so much map pressure. We got so much gold from winning that team fight, and we're like, okay, at this point, just group up and whoever Blitzcrank hooks, just burst that person as fast as possible.
And so moving on from that then, so you guys have really good team fighting. I want to ask a question specifically to, I believe I called it wrong. I said we had the jungler, but I believe we have the top laner, Mr. Bobo Bobbin. Absolute monster in both of those games, able to find 1v1 advantages. I want to ask you specifically about the first game because you guys were a little bit behind in that early game. It found you about a while to take your stride, but you got a lot of your advantages through the side lane. So is that something as a team that you decided to try play around, or was it just circumstance of the game?
I mean, it's pretty much every game, as far as I know. It's just like if I have TP up, I'm just gonna try and push the sideline as far as I can, and like so they can get advantages anywhere else. And if they try and commit onto the other 4 guys, I can just push through and like get myself super ahead.
No, brilliant, fantastic. Okay, so then looking at how well you played that series, because you did actually have a phenomenal showing on these 2 champions here, I want to cast you back to game 1 because the Kennen match up into the Gwen. Now we've seen a lot of Gwen into the Kennen our worlds at the moment. I think people are really keen to pick the Gwen into some of these ranged matchups. How did you feel going into the matchup? And after that initial struggle in the early game and that first turret being taken away, how did you feel going into mid game?
I mean, in the early game, it's really tough, especially because I gotta say I've never played that matchup in my life because I just recently swapped the top as well, and it felt kind of rough because I couldn't do that much. But he kind of just pushed all the time, so I didn't really have problems with getting CS. And once we get into like team fights, unless Kennen is like flash proto belting in and gets like a huge ult, he's gonna have less impact than me, especially if I'm on like a flank position. Like I think you could see that really well on that one Drake fight, where we killed the Syndra first, like to shut down her, because I just stood in that bush and they had no vision whatsoever. And then I'm pretty sure they were kind of surprised that I was behind them, and they couldn't do really much about that.
Oh, brilliant. Well, no, thank you for that. Honestly, it was really exciting to see. I think I mentioned it whilst we were casting the games, but honestly, your comms on the fights in general in game 1 were fantastic. Making that repeated picks onto players and these really finicky spots you managed to find yourself by was really well played.
Thank you.
And I'm just gonna, kind of last one from me before I let Oak ask any last ones that he has. I just want to sort of ask either one of you how you feel. How's the I know that you recently had to bring in a substitute AD carry. How's the team atmosphere been with you having to bring in a substitute all at once and kind of get the ball rolling straight away? Has it been super easy for you guys to just click together, or has it been a bit more of a slug along?
So it was honestly, the last 48 hours have been crazy because we found out a couple days ago that our AD carry is leaving the team because he doesn't have time. and our mid laner at the time was an AD carry main. So we're like, okay, we put our mid laner AD carry, and then we decided to put me support because me and the mid laner we played bot lane together, and then we had to find a jungler, and we found one. But then 10 minutes after we locked in our submission, he said he's not interested. And then around 2 hours before lock-in submission, we found our mid laner. So we had one scrim, and the scrim was against the Diamond Prime League team, and we smashed them, and we were just like, huh, well, that works. And we were just kind of going with it, especially because our mid laner's champion pool is that of a psychopath.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I mean, we were kind of lucky to find the jungler, because like from my old teams, like slash IRL friends who I played with in VL, Smite Kingdom was one of them, and like I played with him a long time in VL and stuff. But he actually didn't play that much League in the last like 2 to 3 months. So we did decide to not make a team out of friends which know each other in real life, you know. And I was kind of lucky that he said, okay, I'm gonna do that, because like we had really no other choice.
Wow.
I mean, I'm just glad it really worked out for you, but
Yeah.
anything for you?
Well, that leads me perfectly into the final question that I have before we do any shout outs, which is, where you talked about how you had such a fantastic showing tonight. It's really good showing. And then on top of that, smashing diamond teams. I mean, how we're in losers bracket. You'll be heading into losers bracket round 2 next week. How do you feel going to losers bracket, and do you feel like you're going to make finals?
Honestly, I think so, yes. Because at least in my mind, Violent Impulse was the strongest team in the losers bracket. I personally don't think like GBM, like Garlic Bear Mafia, they as well lost their jungler and now have to play with a substitute. I'm not even sure if they're gonna make it. Area 69 didn't look that good. I think they just won Group A because Eclipse Solar had to use a sub on mid, and it's like their most important player.
Yep.
And I guess Eclipse Solar is gonna win next week, and then we would have to face Blue Sky Eagles, and they didn't look that good in normal season. So, and especially not into our style. So I think we're good to go.
Brilliant. Well, fantastic fighting words, and I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really glad that you guys are so confident about it. And this is the last chance you kind of get to. I'll let you both of you have a go. I'll start with you, Smiley. Any shout outs from you, just either on the team, off the team, or anything you want to shout out just before we head off?
Yeah. I used to be on a team in my second split with Key and Lamps, and we had a really bad falling out. They said that I had too big of an ego and that I was a little too unfriendly. So, well, I guess I'm actually kind of a nice guy because I gave them an early vacation to split, you know.
Oh my god! Wow. Okay, and passing it along there, a bit of trash talk there, but Bobo, Mr. Bobbin, anything from you before we send it away?
I mean, just gonna trash talk as well. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm playing top lane for a month now, and I'm like smashing every game. Kind of sad.
Oh my god! I mean, it seems like there's so much confidence from you guys. It's so good. It's like nice to see, and hopefully you can carry that confidence on and not have to eat your words in the next playoffs. But we'll call it there from you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We are gonna kick you out now, but thanks once again so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys. See you soon. Lovely. So that seems to just about round it off. Any last comments from you, Oak, before we send this one away?
Best of luck to them in finals, because they did lose two. I just want to remind people they lost 2-0 to Eclipse Solar. So that's why I asked specifically if they were heading into finals, not winning the whole thing, because their showing against Eclipse Solar wasn't too great. So all the trash talk in the world probably can't save you from that team. But thank you so much for. I love casting with you. It's always great. Thank you guys within the Valence League community for watching our stream. I hope you enjoyed today's a really hypey series. And make sure to stay tuned because we got losers bracket round 2 and winners bracket round 2 happening next week. So.
Yeah, so that just about rounds it up from us, guys. Hopefully, you'll see us more around. This has been the Snow Spy. I've been joined by Oak, and British Blaze has been producing as usual. But we will see you guys next time.